everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another round of Poetry Lockdown. We're up to day 23. Excited about that. So today I'm actually going to be reciting a poem that would be called an ekphrastic poem, meaning it's a poem that's inspired by another work of art. In this case, a painting. Now I tried to figure out some things with Facebook Live where I could share my screen so you could see the painting, and I could be talking at the same time, and it didn't work. So maybe it's probably just because I don't know to handle my own technology. But I posted just a minute ago on my Facebook page the image that this poem is inspired by. It's a really incredible Caravaggio painting, Seven Acts of Mercy. Um, my wife and I actually have that at the end of our hallway. Terrific painting. So if you're interested in this poetry lockdown, I would recommend checking the image out. It's on my Facebook page, or you can just Google, Caravaggio Seven Acts of Mercy. And the poem will make a lot more sense if you can see the image. So the poet, let me just say a little bit about her, Rosemary Winslow. I had the privilege of having Rosemary Winslow as my professor, my teacher at Catholic University of America when I was a graduate student there. Terrific teacher. The class that I remember taking with her was a class totally dedicated to two poets, Emily Dickinson and Walt Whitman, and it was a class that really made me fall in love with both of their work. And one of the things that I really respect and admire about Rosemary Winslow is that she didn't and does not shy away from difficulty in poetry. I think that it's great, to make poetry accessible to everybody, and definitely that's something I'm excited about with this little poetry series. But I think it's also okay to read something and not totally understand exactly what's going on and still love the piece. And I think that that's honestly part of why I'm sharing this, because this poem and this painting disturbed me, challenged me, and I would be lying if I say I totally get both the poem and the painting itself, which I love, and I love the poem as well. In fact, the poem is what made me get the print of the painting in the first place. So, without further ado, let me give you a statement first before reading the poem that I think helps me understand the poem. So this is Rosemary Winslow talking about her poem. She says, I was grabbed by this Caravaggio painting when I first came upon it, for the dramatic contrast of dark and light and the central moment of crisis it catches. A young woman just turned away from her father toward the crowd in the street and suddenly awakened to an insight that remains a mystery to us. As she offers the mercies of giving drink to the thirsty and visiting one in prison, the literal and the metaphoric act of giving her breast become fused. The painting calls into question the limits drawn by culture and the profound difficulty of deep love. The image seemed to catch innocence and wisdom simultaneously, critiquing the relative ease of offering mercy to strangers in a public scene set against a daughter's outrageous and somewhat unwitting offering of love, which is fused with an incestuous act. The painting created a scandal in the Renaissance, as the complex problem it suggests still does today. Really helpful intro. Let's hear the poem. After the Seven Acts of Mercy by Rosemary Winslow. This we want, she thinks, desperate, ignorant, thinking the beating heart will break, believing it will break us, believing it is it, not that we are still to be found under the breastbone of the beloved. Arriving in our darkness, salve syllables over the winding sheet. Behind the eyes, a dream of angels walking the stair or tumbling through cloud carries us with them, past commiseration, and the heart beats mightily in the cricket's summons. After the imperious sun, when the slide of light breaks open the attention and we are taken out of ourselves, past the careful stigmata to a lake where a red girl in a hammock stitches words from wreckage, under two maples, unmerited, under the hold of heaven, and she stops, quickened by an absence of language. buttercups in the warm grass, the twick, twick, twick of a goldfinch, a crow's blue-black, a timbre of leaves. Even the peopled street she remembers, its chiaroscuro of beggars and rich men's sleeves in the stunned eyes of a young woman, giving her breast to her jailed father under the smile of Caravaggio's Christ. Light of night, light that folds out from her and on her, falling from the smiling, calm mother and child above, and torchlight thrown in flame shape down her face, throat, breast, where the green dress is parted, the center, deep heart caught by the painter in all time. Where we walk here every day and do not notice the rich, the poor, the quiet lake, the goldfinch, the grass, afraid to walk in splendor, unless turning from time to time to each other in acts of love almost unendurable. For we are not done. We darkly, hardly able to come where no love is, and love's force insistent, soft, here, now, while all around us furious joy is gathering the kingdoms. This poem for me has a real gathering power. Um, so I'll offer you just some thinking about what I understand is happening and also things where I'm not sure. But what I understand is that the poem's speaker is considering the strangeness of desire and love at the beginning of the poem, and then we get the speaker going to a space where she can stop and not be overwhelmed by language. She's quickened by an absence of language. The buttercups and the warm grasses to me feels like the turning point of the poem. The twick 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 of a goldfinch, right? So she's in this place where she can be calmed by the absence of language, and it's there that she remembers the image of the painting. That striking, disturbing image, the stunned eyes of a young woman giving her breast to her jailed father, and the smile of Caravaggio's Christ. And then what I notice here is after that, and then the next stanza gives us, the central image of the breast. Um, I notice, right, that then it seems like there is this we again. So there's a we at the beginning, and there's a we here again. Um, so we got from an individual to us. And I notice also that in that last stanza, when we're talking about these acts of love, almost unendurable, traditional syntax and sentence structure breaks down, right? It doesn't fit into a normal like subject, verb, object type thing, unless turning from time to each other in acts of love, almost unendurable. For we are not alone, we are not done, we darkly, hardly able to come where no love is. So again, it feels to me like the breakdown of the syntax in some ways mimics the disturbance of love, which is something that is not able to be digested fully by us humans. Um, and I don't know if this was intended by Rosemary Winslow, but for me, that phrase, "For we are not done, we darkly, hardly able to come where no love is." When I read that phrase darkly, I couldn't help but think of that passage in Corinthians, which is a letter meditating on, obsessed with what love is. Paul's thinking about it obviously from the perspective of a Christian. He says, "For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known." And this idea of this disturbing love that is not really able to be made sense of, that was scandalous, obviously, when Caravaggio painted his painting, but I think also, the acts of mercy are in themselves scandalous. How to reconcile them with being in society? To me, that's where I found meaning in this lovely poem, which I do not claim to understand fully, or the painting, which disturbs me, and I wouldn't say I fully get everything in the painting. So Thanks for sticking with me through a reading of a beautiful, challenging uh, painting or poem about a beautiful and challenging painting. And thanks, Rosemary Winslow, for your beautiful work of art.